So, welcome back to everybody. I will start with the presentation on the legal framework, the legal setup, which is behind the SESAR Deployment Framework Partnership. As we have mentioned during our presentation this afternoon, SESAR Deployment has been launched with the regulation for 009-2013, establishing the three layers governance composed of policy, management, and implementation layers. These three layers of the governance are put together through a structured legal framework, which is at the basis also of the interactions that SDM, European Commission and INEA on one side, and you, implementing partners, will have for the grant awarding and the further management of the grants once the project will be selected and will enter in the execution. So there are the information provided today are for you to get familiar with this composed and structured framework, so to be aware of what is behind, what is expected from you once entered in the partnership. In particular, the legal setup is based on three main agreements. The first one is the Framework Partnership Agreement, which is the long-term partnership set up with European Commission and SDM, and which is also grouping all the implementing partners to establish both the management layer of the deployment governance and the third layer. So the three parties of the governance are all together within the same contractual framework, which is the FPA. By regulations, by FPA, we have also requested to finalize and sign an internal cooperation agreement, the ICA. The ICA will govern the relationship just for between the layer 2 and the layer 3 of the governance, so between SESAR Deployment Manager and implementing partners. The last pillar of our legal framework is the specific grant agreement. The specific grant agreement is the contract that has to be signed once the projects are awarded to get the financial support from European Commission and to access funding. And they are signed by the three layers of the deployment governance. What is important for you to know is also that either the Framework Partnership Agreement and the specific grant agreements are signed by the implementing partners by mandate, providing mandate to the SESAR Deployment Manager, in particular to the Managing Director, as it is requested by the FPA. So there is no direct signature from you, but it's by representation provided by the SDM. I will not go through the details of all the agreements, and I will not provide you with another roadmap for the signature of these agreements, but just a few words to present you the content of the three so that you will be familiar with them. The first one is the Framework Partnership Agreement. As I just mentioned, is the cooperation mechanism which established the management layer and set up the rules for the organization of the deployment governance. The FPA has been signed on the 5th of December last year, 2014, by the SDM and by the European Commission. Being SDM, as you know, a consortium of implementing partners. Every time that as a result of a call, there will be new implementing partners receiving funds from the European Commission within the framework of the CEF, the Framework Partnership Agreement shall be amended in order to introduce these new partners in the general framework. The agreement says it is structured with an overall action plan, which refers to the objective of the deployment manager to coordinate the execution of the pilot common project, includes also the general conditions governing the relationship, which are also applied to the specific grant agreements, and also includes all the models that are needed for the management of the agreement, SGA as well, among which also the mandate for FPA and SGA signature. The second document that we have to consider is the internal cooperation agreement. As I mentioned, it is required by the FPA to sign an internal cooperation agreement between coordinating partners of the FPA, being the SDM on one hand, and implementing partners on the other hand. It provides for different elements which are detailing those processes underpinning the formal coordination of the activities within the partnership. So first of all, providing details on the SESAR Deployment Manager structures and its operation, including the OBS of the DM, providing some elements on the working arrangement that has to be set up for the realization of the deployment program, for the implementation of the project through the specific grant agreements, the mandate to the SESAR Deployment Manager, the different role which are within the actions submitted to the European Commission and which are needed for the execution of all the coordination, which is, of course, based on activities that has to be performed by the SDM, by action leader and activity leaders and implementing partners. And it also provides you with articles related to the general general provisions of the ICA itself. The ICA is the second fundamental agreement, with the third one, which is the final one for today, is the specific grant agreement. This one is I think, the most interesting for you at this stage, since it's the results, or will be the results of all the activities to be performed for proposal preparation and submission. The SGA will be the agreement to European Commission, INEA one side, SDM as coordinator, and all implementing partners participating to the application, which has been considered successful by INEA after the evaluation process and is able to finalize the agreement itself. It refers to the general conditions which are defined within the FPA, and it provides two important annexes. The first one is the description of the action. What is this? It's the technical proposal that altogether we are preparing and submitting to INEA. In case of successful proposal, the technical part will be attached to the specific grant agreement to provide and describe the obligation for the execution of the project and the overall action. Of course, it will be revised in case of comments and indication by INEA and by the partners. The second annex is the budget, which includes all the costs that are considered eligible following the results of the evaluation by INEA, and also providing for the co-funding to these different projects. Both annexes are, of course, elaborated not just by the DM, but the DM in collaboration with all implementing partners. As it was introduced at the beginning, we will support you in the different steps. So since proposal preparation, this phase, after and following the results in the SGA preparation, and afterwards in the SGA execution. We will be the interface towards INEA to ease their communication to the implementing partners, but it doesn't mean that we will be the only point of information for them. We will always liaise with you and liaise with you to get your information, get your approval, and get your inputs on all the documents to be signed. So just to be very short in this afternoon session, this is the last slide for this presentation. And I thank you for your attention, and wait in the background for the question and answer. Thank you. So we received a number of questions, and we will try to answer to you the most important part, or the major one. So the first question is, when would the funds be available after being awarded, and time frame for co-funding? that refers to the selection process that is to be performed by INEA. Normally, following the submission of proposal, the evaluation of that is closed by summertime, by end of June or July, when the Staff Coordination Committee is called to provide decision on the proposal resulting from the evaluation. Following decision of the Coordination Committee, INEA will start the negotiation of the SGA and the annexes of the SGA I just presented. It took around 2 or 3 months, so by November each year, November or December at the latest, the SGA will be signed. So this is the reference for the awarding. The awarding is following the decision, the consolidation of the awarding append with the signature of the SGA, and the co-funding is available for the first pre-financing following the signature of the SGA itself. So next question. That's an interesting question. Is it possible to change project spittings and content for proposal which has been already issued as indication of interest? The answer is definitely yes. The point is that you submitted us some indication of interest. The indication of interest will have been assessed, and you will receive recommendation on that. So modification will definitely be more than welcome to address the recommendation received, and also the information that you get today with the event. So this new version of the indication of interest indeed will be the IP template that you are asked to submit to us. So the first one to be provided by the 13th of November. Next question. So how do you intend to cluster military projects? The point is that there will not be a military cluster or military clusters. We intend to organize the action in compliance with the deployment program structure. So this is the answer that we can get now, and will be provided to rationalize the number of proposals. And it will be also depending on the IP template that we will receive in the next future, but there will not be a separate cluster for military projects at this stage. Next question. Do military have to deliver the proposal through IDA? I assume that we have to consider, of course, the role of IDA as military coordinator. However, in the framework of CHEF funding, the proposal have to be submitted through the coordinator of the FPA, which is the SESAR Deployment Manager. Next question. How can SDM propose merging IPs on one hand, but then state that multinational projects must be subdivided and submitted through each member state? The point is that the question is opening a different understanding. The projects are not submitted through each member state. The projects are submitted through SDM to INEA. What the member states are called to do is to endorse the relevant part of the action. I mean, this is the role they have. It will not be the member state to submit the proposal. There will be all the implementing partners coordinated by the SDM submitting to INEA, and with the endorsement of the relevant member states. Until when can projects request funding? At this stage, the information that we have is that the project for which the eligibility starts with normally the signature of the SGA, but can be anticipated up to the submission of proposal, has to close by 31st December 2020. So not 2020 first, that's 2020 as an ending date. So I think that is the last question. That's correct.